What's the Socratean? Hang on, Hans. What's the Socratean method?
Oh no, are you gonna tell me?
Yeah, then shut up. Okay, so again, I gotta ask you.
Thank you so much. You're
one at a
time. More
I have one
at a
question.
time.
I just have one question.
What if I disagree on the definition of the Socratic method?
Socratean. Hans,
what's the
I have one question.
It's a different thing to me. Clearly, your premise is flawed.
One question for you.
You both.
I just have one question for Hans. My question for you, Hans, is that if you think about murdering somebody, are you a murderer?
Over the past several years, many examples have come out showing inappropriate sexual interactions with children in schools, in books and libraries, drag story hours, and other such things. Are these small outliers that are being blown out of proportion by people that are complaining about them? Or is it indicative of a movement that intends to sexualize children? So we're gonna go in reverse order this time. So let's start 1 minute. Dylan Burns, if his mic allows it. Go.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So you said stuff in schools, like sexuality at all in schools, like in any manner, or are we specifically talking like queer, LGBT, like I just make that more specific?
I don't think it was LGBT.
The spirit of the question and my intent was sort of LGBT specific, but you can take it anywhere you want. If you want to talk about, you think that there's other types of sexualization, it's you're all the ones debating.
So I would say that there is a problem with sexualizing young people, just generally in society. This exists both within straight communities and within queer communities, where young people are sexualized at a young age. I remember seeing a lot of young people when I growing up, being brought to Hooters. I was even brought to like titty bars when I was younger, and I was very uncomfortable with it. I even expressed it at the time, and it was even kind of looked down upon, like, why the fuck are you not? Why don't you want to go to the titty bar with your father? But at the time, I was very uncomfortable, and I think that type of sexualization is a real problem. I do think that some people try to portray it as though that sexualization is more prominent in queer communities, and that is not the case. It's just that I think that queer sexualization of youth makes a lot more people more uncomfortable because it's been less normalized, therefore it gets noticed more, even though when it does happen, it equally deserves to be criticized.
All right. Next up, we have Andrew. You got a minute. Go ahead.
Before you go, Andrew, 2.2 acres and a polar bear for $5 says, tell Dylan to cancel the porn subs so that he can afford a camera.
Never.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Muted, Andrew. You're muted.
Before I was so rudely cut off by Zen, I expect that minute to be returned. I just want to express very quickly that child predators go where children are, and homosexuals have a disproportionate rate when it comes to molestation of children. There's no doubt that that's true. Not even the leftists can disagree that that's true.
You say child predators have a higher rate of molestation of children?
Why don't you...
Opening.
I'm sorry. Before you Hans, I'm going to take my whole minute back now because you interrupted. You interrupted. So one more
45 seconds.
Yes.
No, starting back in a minute. He got cut off in his first sentence.
No. 45. Please go. I'm moderating.
Mr. Moderator.
I'm the moderator. Go. 45 seconds. Go.
Disproportionate amount of sexual predators are homosexuals. It's not to say that it's most. If you're looking at the overall average, we're saying it's a disproportionate amount. Why would it shock me then that homosexuals want to go into places where there are lots and lots of children to read books to, any more than they would want to infiltrate things like the Catholic Church, infiltrate things like the Boy Scouts? They're going to go where children are. And parents should have massive concerns about this. Why wouldn't they? And I also completely and 100% disbelieve that Dylan and his father went to a Hooters. I want to see a single fucking picture. I don't believe you, Dylan.
It was a tilted kilt, to be specifically. Tilted kilt. Same concept.
Did you want to see a picture of a child in a sexualized situation, Andrew? That feels pretty odd.
Damn.
Hang on, real quick.
Muted. God muted him. God muted him. God muted him. Got him.
Where's your God? No, he's on our side.
Blows. That's what 2.2 acres and a polar bear.
All right, let's get through the opening before the shit show. Let's go with Hans. You got a minute?
By the way, you blow, Hans.
Let him go. Start his minute over, right?
I do get to start. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I know, but I think Dylan hit on this pretty well. The over-sexualization of children seems kind of cringe, regardless of who's doing it. I think there
Say
are
cringe again. Say cringe again.
Cringe.
Come on.
Cringe.
Come on. Wait till we get to open.
Reclaiming my time. One more minute. No, but specifically, there are aspects of sexuality that probably should be stated to children, both to make sure that kids who know what sex is can be better able to report whether they've had sexual acts done to them. That sounds like a pretty good thing to do. Let kids know that, hey, someone shouldn't be touching you there. And then also for kids who are on the spectrum who eventually will, smoke the poles, right? It's probably good to let them know that that's okay, that that's normal, that some people do that. And, they probably should have to figure that out by themselves on the internet sometime between ages 17 and 20. So.
All right. Next up, we have Aircraft Sparky. Go ahead. You got a minute?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question? I'm just
I can do that. All right. I will repeat the question. Congratulations, Sparky. An L for the right-wingers. First, the need to repeating of the question, but that's all right. Over the past several years, there have been many examples that have come out showing inappropriate sexual interactions with children in schools, with books, with drag story hours, etc. Are these small outliers being blown out of proportion, or is there a movement to sexualize children?
It is not small outliers being blown out of proportion. It is a loud, obnoxious freaking activists. Activists are the worst people in the world. They go to the extremes every time. And just to be 100% clear, there are a lot of people within the LGBT community that is fully disgusted by the actions of these activists. Groups like Gays Against Groomers and such have vehemently spoken out against it. It is other people, disgusting sons of bitches, like Joseph R. Biden, who likes to shower with his daughter. Hey, there you go,
There it is again.
Dylan. Yes, I do it just for you, baby. Just
showering with children.
Reclaiming the time.
I'm reclaiming my time, and I get another minute.
One fucking opening without someone interrupting. Finish up, Sparky. You got 20 seconds.
All right, I did that just for you, Dylan. Look, here's the deal. Being gay doesn't make you a pedophile, but being Democrat might. I am done.
Sparky, do you consider yourself an activist?
Let's wait until we're in the opening. Let's wait until we're in the openings to get to that. Next up, we have Bisco. You're up for a minute.
Yeah, I think the sexualization of children is a huge problem. And I think it's a problem that includes child trafficking, which is a problem in the United States even. And even happens, I think, at our border at alarming rates. And it includes a lot of these displays that prominent examples of people that are referencing, which I think are clearly inappropriate. And where I, as a parent, if I were a parent, wouldn't want my child to attend. That said, I think our concern for the safety and dignity of children needs to be balanced against any kind of measure that would be overbroad as applying against, I think, our First Amendment values and rights. And so I am not in favor of certain measures that have been proposed by right-wing individuals that I think would be overbroad in addressing that problem. I think that parents should be empowered, but not at the expense of the First Amendment. And I think that certain measures are clearly too far in response to what is a problem.
All right. Hey, everybody take a drink. Congratulations on getting through an opening without interruption there. Awesome job, guys. We're improving.
We all fell asleep.
Yeah. Oh, well, Zen, you get the chance as the last word here before open panel. Go ahead. You got a minute.
Okay, thank you for that. So yeah, I think the whole like LGBT drag queen story hour child groomer thing, people might think these are just like outliers and extremities, but I think they're more of a symptom of the underlying problem, and that's that our society is mostly degenerate, like objectively just degenerate without morals, including like half of this panel. And the reason that we see all these extreme like symptoms of this problem is because these normal people, what they think they're normal, they don't realize that their degeneracy needs to be validated by further degenerates, like growing in the population. But the problem is in the LGBT community, this particular brand of degeneracy cannot populate itself biologically. So they're forced to repopulate ideologically. And the best way to do that is to go after young, impressionable minds, and that is children. And that's why we see more widespread acceptance of LGBT propaganda, more sexualization of people in general in the media, and because that's what they need to do. And lastly, I know my time is up. Risky Dave and Redfish Bear both sent in super chats for $20 and $10 and said absolutely nothing. Thank you for that.
All right.
Can we?
Well, real quick, we'll get started here. I'm going to start with Dylan because there's a chat that was given $5. Thank you, Primus fan says. Hooters equals waitress in shorts and t-shirt serve me buffalo wings versus drag queen strip show where kids give money to dudes dressed as girls doing sexy dances. Do you think there is we'll start there. Dylan, do you think there's a fundamental difference between the tilted kilt and people strip teasing for children?
Well, I think the strip teasing is worse, but I also would say that the tilted kilt is bad. Hooters is bad. Any type of sexual interaction with the children is not appropriate for them. That's not good for them and should be opposed. But I don't think like the gay sexualization of children is any worse than the straight sexualization of children, or the straight sexualization of children is any worse than the gay sexualization of children. If somebody was to bring a child to a strip club, that would be bad. Even if it was a straight strip club or one of those smoky Las Vegas strip clubs where everybody looks like 40. It doesn't it would be bad across the board. I'd also just want to say, when it comes to this idea, there's like this international like grand plot between organizations, between queer people to like smuggle their way into the classroom so they can molest all the children. That's just not happening. When you talk about Drag Queen Story Hour, that seems to be the one of the hour that people keep talking about. This is an organization that is I would say pretty good when it comes to this issue, because you want to know what? The one time they did actually find somebody that was of persuasion where they have interacted inappropriately with a child, they immediately kicked them out, disbar them, throw them out, and it's their own investigations which uncover this stuff. I don't understand why this organization particularly gets targeted with that type of language when we're talking molestation and grooming children. This isn't grooming children. They're reading books to kids in funny outfits.
It is grooming children. And can we all agree, please, that pedos need to report to the local multi facility for re-education?
If you don't mind, can I respond to what Dylan just said for just a second? Okay, so Dylan, I enjoyed your straw man where you said, I don't understand why they're saying that there's an infiltration of a... Listen, we're claiming that anywhere that children are where you're going to find child predators. Doesn't matter if they're heterosexual or homosexual. Our argument is that homosexual child predators disproportionately offend compared to heterosexual child offenders. Can you say that that's not true?
Can I say that that's not true? I can't. I can't. No, I
right.
can't say
you're right. You're right. You can't.
But the problem is, let me ask you a question. Do you think? Wait. If I was to look at the races that disproportionately molest children, should we say that we shouldn't allow, if it was majority white people disproportionately, we shouldn't allow white people into the classroum? We shouldn't let this or that group into the classroom if it's disproportionate? Actually, I think if I look it up, we will find disproportionate. I would. Yeah, actually, I think I could. I think actually, I think I probably could. That there's disproportionate levels when it comes to race. Let me ask. Answer it. Why not?
Answer the hypo as presented. Accept it.
You have to shut up or we can't hear it, Pisco. So, Dylan, one more time.
If you were to find out that
I can't hear the question, Hans. Shut up, Hans. Go ahead.
If you were to find out that there was a disproportionate amount of white people that molested children, like higher than other races, they were like a higher level of them. Does that mean we shouldn't, be allowing white people into the classroom or to teach children or around children, or anytime we see white people around children, we should get suspicious?
We don't really operate in a racialist lens. We don't really look at things.
So
like that.
before,
so but you answer no.
It's really answer yes or no.
Wait.
Leave Andrew. Let's leave Andrew answer. Yeah.
I will answer to this question. If you could pinpoint a specific behavior that was specific due to the fact that they were their race was what incurred the behavior.
Who cares?
Then shut up, Pisco.
The numbers are the numbers.
I'm trying to explain. If you were
trying to add more shit so you can walk away from this,
please leave him finish. Then you guys can tear it apart. If you,
I'll tell you what. You guys present the perfect hypothetical, but then let me actually answer to that hypothetical without adding anything. Go ahead, Dylan.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Andrews. I didn't hear Andrews.
So here, one more time. Let me restate
isolating a factor. You know how this works.
Hang on. Give me the exact hypothetical. I'm going to write it down and then add nothing more to the hypothetical, and I will answer specifically to the hypothetical based on the premise. Go ahead, Dylan.
Okay, I think you were already responding to it, but I'll just say it again. If you were to look at like white people as a race and see that they were disproportionately molesting children, and I'm sure if we looked at the data, there'd be some disproportionate, there would be some statistical differences. I don't know why, but sociologically, there probably. Do you think that would be a good reason to be suspicious when we see white people disproportionately in classrooms or as teachers, or if we were to see white people disproportionately in certain industries around children, we should say, this is suspicious, we need to do something about this.
When you're talking about white, black, or racial anything, you're talking about a social construction, not a biological phenomenon. So when we're talking about a behavior, are you going to say then that these are biological phenomenons, that the race is a biological phenomenon or not?
No, but...
Well, then shut up. Then shut up. Yeah, I didn't answer your question. I attacked the premise. I attacked the very premise.
I have a follow-up question. I have a follow-up question. I have a follow-up question, Andrew.
Wait. This is why.
Wait, am I not going to be able to respond to that? Are we actually just going to move on? We're actually going to let Zen not follow up.
Let's give it. Zen, quiet. Zen. Here's what we're doing. We're going to give Dylan 20 seconds, then I want Zen to chop in.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then you need to prove to me that it's the homosexuality causing this and not sociological conditions that homosexuals face. Or I could say the same thing about white people, because I would say it's the sociological conditions, not the fact they're white. I'll say the same thing about their community.
You don't believe white people exist. You don't believe white people exist.
Let's hear it from Zen.
That wasn't a response.
Apples to oranges here. I'll be quick. It's that whatever you consider whiteness to be, that's just going to be an inherent biological feature of the individual. We look at homosexuality as a behavior, and why does that cause more instances of child molestation? Well, it's easy because homosexuals are degenerates.
Wait,
Zen,
who cares?
wait, Zen, Andrew didn't answer my question, so I'll ask you the question, okay? Zen, if you can you prove to me? Can you prove to me? No, let me finish. Zen, can you prove to me that it's biological factors then that is causing this around homosexuals, not sociological factors? Because my assertion would be, like with white people, with queer people as well, it's more likely that sociological factors would cause any disproportionate rate here.
We believe that that's true. What's your point?
Yeah,
sociological factors. So
why would we
not biological. So it's not biologically attached to homosexuals.
Let's leave Zen. Yeah, I want to hear from Zen, then we'll go to Pisco.
I'm just saying that we view homosexuality. If I understood you properly, you agree that we view homosexuality as an action, not a biological feature of an individual, like their height or their skin color or whatever.
But who?
We think homosexuality is an action, not a biological character.
Who cares? Who cares?
Wait. Let me get my thing out. That's cold comfort to the kid that is being disproportionately sexually abused by white people.
By homosexuals?
Hang on a second.
Wait, homosexuals?
You don't care about the kids. The white race, very clear, Andrew. I understand.
Pedophilic white race, buddy.
Pisco, finish.
Wait. By white people or by homosexuals or whoever you think has a greater propensity to commit these acts, you really care about the root cause, whether it's biological or socioeconomic. Like, who cares about that? You guys are okay with a regime that disproportionately affects people because of the danger presented by white people, regardless of where it comes from.
Why is this a race
You guys are
thing?
okay with child grooming?
Why is this a race thing?
No,
because in
how
2022, wait, no.
Sparky, I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just going to explain.
I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just going to fucking cut you off. I got you.
No, Sparky, remember, this is a specific hypothetical that we're isolating a single trait to ask if that would affect their decision on like whether they care or not about
public school teachers molest more children per capita than any other group in the world.
Who cares about the causal path? It can be inherent. It can be.
Wait, did you just say, Sparky?
No, it's because you know. It's because you know this is bad for you. The inherent part of it.
Whether Pisco finish, then I want to hear from Sparky.
Whether it's a quote unquote inherent tendency or whether it's a choice behavior, the truth is, one group of people is disproportionately affecting children and abusing them in this hypothetical, and you're okay with that. You're okay with that. And the only defense you have is, well, one's a learned behavior, other is innate. I guess it's innate to white people that they molest children, and that helps you.
Oh my God! What the?
Let's go to Sparky.
Jesus Christ! Look, there is no profession in the world that molests more children than public school teachers. In Chicago alone, in 2021, 470 individual counts of sexual misconduct from teachers to students happened in the Chicago Public School District. Homosexuality is not a sexual trait. It is a learned fucking thing. And the vast majority of individuals who engage in homosexual activities have been sexually molested as a child. I am not going to call people out directly, but there's people on this panel who knows that for true.
For purposes of hypo, who cares? I mean, what you're saying is.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Wait,
Who
wait,
cares? Because it disproves exactly what the fuck you're talking about.
Wait a second. Listen to what you're saying, guys. Listen just for a moment. What you're saying.
Listen to what you're saying. You're conflating two groups. One
Listen-
that is a learned
listen-
behavior.
listen
and
to
one
Race
that
is a
is
social construct, isn't it,
When
Pisco?
the conservatives are done floundering, please let me ask a
Listen
question.
to
Okay?
what you're saying.
Shut the fuck
right?
up, Dylan.
What you're saying is that the disproportionate in this hypothetical world, which I don't know the data, but in this hypothetical world, this tendency towards child molestation among white people in this hypothetical, that's inherent.
Why is this a
And
race
that-
thing?
excuse
First
me,
of all, who
and-
is
and
you're
somehow-
the only
Let
one
me
complaining
finish.
race.
Wait, let me finish. And somehow the inherent
shitty
connection
point.
to child molestation, child molestation is better than the choice connection to child molestation. How could you possibly believe that?
Dude, it's because you're
Let
not.
me see. For the purposes, can I clarify this? And both sides can tell me if I'm wrong about this. Bisco's argument saying if we have one factor, whether it be race, whether it be sexual orientation, whatever, and we say people in one side of that equation tend to molest children more, it doesn't matter if it's because of that or it happens to be that. That's irrelevant. Shouldn't we keep that group away from children? And
Boom.
it seems
You
that
got
what
that.
Zen and
You've said it
BPF
like
are
3
saying
times.
are.
I just don't understand.
It seems like what Zen and BPF are saying are, no, we wouldn't do that. We would only do it if it's causal. And we think that it's not a biological factor that causes homosexuality, but it is a choice of degenerate behavior. And so we wouldn't say, well, you can't be around children because you're short, and short people on average molest more kids. But we can say if you engage in something that's not a biological factor, but a choice of an action that leads to more molestation.
That means
then
you
we
don't care
will.
about children.
Is that
That
the
means you don't
what
care about
both
children.
sides are
You
saying?
only care about the
That's your
children
answer?
when
Wait,
it like
if that's your
it's
answer,
choice
you don't
of-
care about
you don't
children.
care about it if it's genetic. If someone on this panel had a genetic propensity to rape the fuck out of kids, I
don't
wouldn't let them
believe
be a
that that's
teacher.
No one-
What's
yeah,
the
you guys
gene?
are
What's
so-
the rape gene? What's the fuck?
Like,
what's
I'm
the
just
rape
saying,
gene?
if Andy
pedophilia
was a
genetic?
rapist, I
Who
wouldn't let him be a
cares?
school teacher.
What
You know
does
what I mean?
pedophilia
right
genetic?
there, but Hans
Zen.
or Pisco, can you point to the rape gene? Where is it?
No,
Oh,
in your
you
own
can't.
hypo.
You're
No,
Then
no,
shut up.
I'm
Then
not
shut up,
making-
bro. Then
excuse
shut
me,
up, bro.
I'm not making. I'm not making any. He just asked me, can you point to the rape gene?
And
or
you
the
said
homosexual-
what was your answer? What was your
No,
answer?
my answer is I don't
Then
know.
you're
any of
done.
the-
Then you're done.
There's no
Why
way
don't
to
you
elaborate.
understand?
There is
Why
no
don't you?
elaborate.
Hang on,
There
hang
is
on,
no-
hang
You
on.
guys are.
There's no
Why
queer
don't
gene
you-
either.
Why don't
Oh
you
my God.
understand
These are the best
logical
debaters the right has
do you-
to
do
offer?
you- Pisco, I would take in seconds, but why don't you
Okay.
understand the
He's
logical?
hungry.
Why don't you understand the logical conclusions of the things you say?
I'm understanding those conclusions more than
And
you are.
tell me
Your
what
conclusion is.
and tell me what the
Your
conclusion is.
conclusion is inherent connections to child molestation don't need to be regulated, but choice-related ones do. And that seems fucked up if you're from the child
Yeah.
advocacy perspective.
Wait.
All right. Real quick, everybody take a drink. Dylan, everybody take a drink if you're drinking. Then Dylan, I want you to go ahead and get your sense in. I promised you a while ago, and then we'll go back to Andrew.
Sure, I just
I
want to
get another
put here,
drink.
because I feel like this whole conversation is going on as if the idea that like environmental factors are what creates homosexuality is like a given. Feels like how this conversation is going. I just want to put out there is tons of research directing towards biological factors 100% leading to homosexuality in people, whether it's being caused by chemical modifications in the DNA, whether it has to do with chemicals that people are exposed to in the womb. There is a lot of research pointing to that idea, and acting as if this is a shut case that, oh, if you just like the right combination of colors or sounds or whatever, because there's not really like proof to really show that it's environmental factors or it's the world like coming out and just making you gay because whatever number of factors. I don't think we should be taking this as a given that it's just the environment doing this.
Nobody.
Can I
said
ask
that
you one thing?
Hang on, Dylan. I'll address this
Answer that.
specifically. Nobody says that it's the environment specifically that's doing it, but there could be genetic factors such as things like agreeableness or many other such genetic brought down factors that would lead to the propagation when you have propaganda that would lead a person towards homosexuality. There is no gay gene. There's no such thing as something that makes you want to have same-sex relations. So if you take the environmental factors in commonality with the genetics, maybe agreeableness, or many other factors that could be genetic, that would lead to what homosexuality is. Nobody is making the claim that it's not a 50-50 across the board. It easily could be a 60-40 split. It's completely irrelevant. And you can't disagree that that's true.
The thing is, it
But
could
who
be,
cares?
it could also be, let me be clear, it could also be environmental factors that is having a percentage cause on that. But I want to make sure to clarify that there's a lot of research showing that a decent portion of this is going to be biological. And so whether conservatives want to accept it or not,
Yeah,
wait,
but-
come on, let me finish. They're always going to have to exist and work with homosexuals in their society because they have always existed. They will always exist. And I don't know why we should demonize their living style, how they are. If they're always going to be here, we should learn to live with homosexuals.
But what is the research saying, Dylan? The research for the biological component is not saying that there's some type of sexual proclivity that goes in to your biological DNA. But rather it's stating that there's factors that may be biological that make you more agreeable to the suggestion of the environment, which would stop, Pisco, which would go directly in line with what you would consider to be evolutionary biology. There's no way for you to argue that that's not true.
You didn't respond to anything. I don't feel like you responded to anything I said.
That's because your mic cut out because God loves me. That's because your mic cut out because God loves me.
Can really nobody hear me? Or
I can hear you.
Okay. Shut the fuck up, Dylan.
Yeah, of course.
Right, Dylan,
please, 2-on-1 because liberals are too strong and powerful and manly as they always have been known to be. And you can't take me all at.
How can one be manly and take it up the ass?
Yeah, I'll cut you off as a moderator too. Now it's like 4-on-1. No, okay. Please finish, Dylan.
Okay, so I am saying that we don't know the exact percentages. You're right, Andrew. It could be 80-20 for all we know. It could end up all being biological. The research isn't 100% clear. But
no, it couldn't.
It could. We don't know for sure. But when for example, the big thing that people talk about, and Andrew didn't bring this up, but I do want to bring this up because it's often talked about, is can't we see how many more and more gays there are in society now? It seems like the propaganda is getting to them. That's their proposal, where it could be as likely, no, I would actually say more likely, it would be my assertion, that it is also, as it is more normalized to be gay, as you're able to be openly homosexual and get a job, as you're able to be openly homosexual and do a bunch of different things, you're going to be answering different to a pollster, and you're going to be more comfortable exploring those parts of yourself. And it's not going to be the propaganda got to you, it's that you're more honest with who you are.
Then you're going to have a problem with that argument too, Dylan.
Major one.
The problem that you're going to have with that is you're going to have to explain this. That under that same logic, you would have to agree that there was as many people who suffered from gender dysphoria back in like 1920, 1930, 1940 as suffer from it right now, correct?
I don't know. What are the conditions that create gender dysphoria?
Or being gay. Or being gay.
You're letting them turn this into a trans debate. What they said is horrific.
It's LGBTQ issues.
No. This is the problem with your whole.
Hold on.
Please, Zach, talk and we'll get a Pisco.
People that are either gay,
balancing liberals, I see you.
If it's something that's inherent to the biology, then there would be the same amount of people that are either gay or have gender dysphoria today as there were 100 years ago. That's what he's asking you. And by the way, Wicked Wally for $5 says, tits make Dylan uncomfy.
So I want to ask you, is that true or not?
It could 100% be true that the same rates exist, is that people are more comfortable exploring that part of themselves now.
Then why don't the same amount of suicidality exist then as it does now?
Why does the same wait? If you kill yourself for being gay, how are they going to know if you were gay or that was the reason? If it's not normalized, are you going to talk about that openly? What are the dates from the 1700s on suicidality about homosexuals? Get us the data on that.
Wait, that would be a great point if we didn't have the data from people who were transgender. See, gender dysphoria, maybe it was called something else, which even had a wider umbrella than it does right now, and the suicidality rate was much, much lower than it is right now amongst transgender LGBTQ back when they had to be in the closet. What's your accounting for that, Dylan?
What's my accounting for that? Conditions could have changed. Sociological conditions could have changed.
What conditions?
Bigots like you really trying to make them kill themselves. Who would have thought?
Example could be the magnifying glass on their society, on the magnifying glass that's been put on them currently right now. If I ask you what a transgender person was in the 1800s, you would have no idea. Homosexual, you would. You would know of homosexual.
I didn't say the 1800s.
1800s, 1900s, either 1920s, 1930s.
I'm asking you this.
Exchange has gone on for too long.
Okay, Pisco, you can take over. You can take over. I don't want to.
Hey! I'd like to break.
I promise Pisco next. Then Sparky.
This exchange is totally irrelevant. Whether or not it's 100% biological, 100% sociological, who cares? I don't know if a tiger attacking my child is 100% biological or 90% tiger socialization. I keep my child away from the fucking tiger. And you guys are unwilling to say.
Which is exactly why we should keep your children away from homosexuals, sir. That's exactly why we should keep your children away from homosexuals.
Excuse me. You won't say that of the white hypothetical. you won't say that even if it's a
Because you don't
biological
believe
premise
that
is
excuse me,
flawed.
let me
whiteness has
finish.
any
Excuse
bearing
me.
on your sexual
Even if it's a
degeneracy.
biologically inherent
You're getting into
tendency.
I'm trying to
Let's
shout
go
him down,
finish.
Zen. Or what, are you scared of him?
Think about what you're
Pisco,
saying.
We're trying
finish.
to answer him.
What are you afraid
about-
of, Zen?
please. What you're-
We're not afraid of anything.
Think
We're
about
trying
what
to
you're
answer
saying,
the-
Zen.
answer the
Let
assertion.
Pisco finish, and then Zen, you could
Pisco, I
respond.
agree.
Let him
I
finish.
really would like to talk. I really
think
like to get
about
into
what
this, but
think
okay.
about what Zen and Andrew are telling you. They're telling you that, supposing this hypothetical to be true, because white is kind of an inherent or sociological construct that somehow exonerates them from having to put protections for children. They don't give a shit about children. If it were a white tendency
man.
that was super through the roof, then they would be fine
They
with
don't care
continuing
about
to allow
children.
the status quo. They don't care about the tendencies. What they care about is the activity of the homosexual conduct. That's what they care about.
Because
And
we
it's
think that
evident
makes
from their
them more
answers to
degenerate
those
and
questions.
unable-
Like it's,
All right,
so
all right.
it's such an
At
easy
least
dunk
I-
if you just said that you
hey.
cared, but you don't.
All right. But listen, we're going to go to Sparky, then we're going to go to Hans, then we're going to go to Zen. But I do have to excoriate Pisco for a moment here for doing one of the things. I've never been a moderator, really, so I get to finally bitch about this. Stop muting people and talking to your audience while people are talking. Your audience deserves to hear these excellent points from the rest of the guests.
No,
so
I'm not talking
take a
about- I'm
drink
just
as
like,
punishment.
Yeah,
Take
pay
a-
attention
okay,
to the
okay.
argument for fuck's sake.
I'm just fucking. Go ahead, Aircraft. Then we're going to go to Hans. Then we go to Zen. And now
First of
Zen's
all-
doing the same thing I just bitched about.
First of all, I need to actually go out on a limb here and say for $10 over at rebel.com, Mixlaw says behavior is not a character trait. Race is not a character trait, but you know what is a character trait? Evidently being retarded. Ladies and gentlemen, look, I just want to say this. John Wilkes Booth was not wrong.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you. For
Hans,
that.
That was Joe Biden part 5. I was waiting.
look.
You're a
Hans, you're up.
loser.
That's not what your mom said last night.
Hans, do you have something to add, Hans, or can we go back to Zen, who still has things he wants to say to Pisco?
I was gonna say, like it's such an easy dunk for Andy or for Zen to say, "Hey, we actually do care about children being molested, regardless of what's causing it." But you can't say that because it seems like you don't give a fuck about kids. You just hate gay and trans people. Like that's literally it.
Well, let me ask you, since I don't give a fuck about kids and I have 5, how many do you have, Hans?
Nice. one.
Yeah, just fucking sit there, Hans. Just sit there,
with
Hans.
me than with
Nice.
you.
Sit there, Hans. Sit there, Hans.
Yeah, sit there and shut the fuck up, Hans. No, I was gonna quickly say that it's a conflation of categories. It's a category error to say that, like, when we're asserting that homosexuals have lower impulse control, are more sexually degenerate, are more likely to commit sexual assaults in all facets, not just against children, but particularly against children. That's not the same thing as just saying, like, white people are genetically predisposed to be child predators, because we don't believe that there's any indication of a child predator gene. We think it's environmental, it's socioeconomically influenced, things like that. So it's a category error through
It's
and
not a
through.
category error.
And then
Yeah,
last
no, it
thing-
is
last
a
thing-
category error
last
completely.
thing before you
We
respond.
blew your premise out,
Wait.
Pisco.
Leave Zen finish. Leave
Or
Zen-
hot
This is
air.
important. This is the most important part. Maddie for $5 said absolutely nothing, and Wilhelm Bones for $10 said absolutely nothing. Thank you guys.
Pisco, go for it.
Yeah. So I am accepting your premise, right? Accepting your premise that race is either inherent or sociological, whatever you want to say the causal chain. I am making no claims to the causal chain. What I'm saying, in fact, is who cares? I don't need to know. If it's true, accepting
you
the
don't care about
hypothetical on its own terms, that white people, for whatever reason, have a higher tendency related to.
Why is it white people? Here's the deal.
quote-unquote
What is the
degenerate-
socioeconomic condition that
Hang
actually
on, let
leads
him
to
finish.
sexual,
Let him
sexual
finish.
child
Let him
abuse?
finish because I have an answer
Regardless
for him.
of the causality behind the root cause why, if it's a quote free choice or it's inherent, should it? And imagine if the numbers were really truly gross and white people supposing had a disproportionate, very high, attraction to children in this very gross way. Why wouldn't it be acceptable to
Now-
have a restriction that said white people are not allowed to be within, 2 schools of, I don't know.
Now,
of children?
Pisco, I'm going to
Someone
help
needs
you.
to save Andy's kids from himself.
I'm gonna
Because he's
help
white.
you. I'm gonna help you out with this, Pisco. Try to understand in philosophy that just because you claim that something is a hypothetical, the hypothetical itself is based on a false premise, And the false premise is pointed out, the hypothetical is it's void. It's gone. We've already answered to this hypothetical multiple times.
What's the false
premise is flawed. You are conflating behavior in a category error with something that is biological, which has not been demonstrated. So demonstrate the biological factors and ask
And
you
we
to
said
multiple
regardless. We've
times.
said regardless of
Hold
what
on,
the
hold on.
election.
Hold on. I want to actually challenge
makes no
Zen.
sense.
If he wants to formalize
I
it,
actually want to challenge Zen here. I want to challenge a conservative to conservative. What are the social economic conditions that lead to child sexual abuse? I need to know this.
Being abused as a child, I think, would be the most.
So is that a social economic condition, or is that actually a morality condition? That's what I need to know.
Well, it's both. Yeah, I think it's.
So only what? Rich people, poor people? What type of? I need to know what type of people, what social economic condition actually leads to sexual
I would say
predation.
that, yeah, poor people are probably more likely to get molested for sure. Yeah, they're not. Being
Okay,
so
let me ask you a couple.
Wait, Rob, please.
Go ahead, Pisco.
Actually, we can demonstrate
I want to
that's
formalize
true.
this. I want to
You're
formalize
laughing
this.
hard like this isn't true.
I want to formalize this. I want to formalize this for Andrew.
I
You
want
tell me
you
where I'm
to
wrong.
understand, though, that Hans
wanna
threw.
formalize
Hang
it
on.
and-
I'll give it back. But Hans threw his head back and laughed. Hans, what did Zen say that was untrue?
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was waiting for.
Well, then
Pisco.
why did you throw your fucking
man,
head back
shut
and
the
laugh,
fuck up,
Hans?
Hans. Shut the fuck up.
All right,
Let-
Pisco,
let-
please.
I want to formalize it. Premise 1: groups that have a disproportionate effect or sexual exploitation of children should be kept away from children. Premise 2: in the hypothetical,
Nice.
white people have a disproportionate effect on abusing children.
You're a
Conclusion.
racist.
Conclusion:
Please.
white people should be kept away from children.
What
is
is
the-
We reject premise 2. We
You
reject,
reject premise
two.
2.
No, factually, but if it were true, if it were
No. Stop
This
it.
is how
Premise
I-
two
If
could not be
If
true.
it was a fifth, we'd all be fucking drunk. Jesus fucking Christ.
I have had
Stop
food
playing the
right.
race game when there is no race component to this.
were true.
Mark, is it a scary
Let's
question?
see-
Like, what's the problem?
Well,
They won't
let's leave
answer it.
Andrew answer, please. Let's leave
If
Andrew
it
answer.
were
I'm
true,
like,
No, no, we-
except premise 2. The
I can answer.
hypothetical is
It's
supposing
it's logically valid. I'm sure you know what validity is since you
it's a
invoked
valid argument, isn't it?
normalizing an argument. But what we're objecting to is the soundness of either the premise 1 or premise 2.
And we
are not
reject
justified.
premise 2 as not being sound.
Okay, all right. I understand that, but you weren't granted.
No,
it
you
even-
don't fucking understand that,
I
or
do
you would
understand
make the
Okay,
premise.
right,
Andrew, listen to the
right.
question.
All right,
He
here's what we're
clarified.
gonna do. I'm gonna ask a question to each side here to hopefully get more to the heart of this. And I'm gonna start with Zen and Andrew here, since they seem to be of a similar thought here. If there was a study that came out that was compelling and that they could, through brain scans or something, show that white people tended to be more analytic thinkers and they tended to be people that were driven more towards the sciences, and that there was a connection to people that were driven to that are more likely to favor sex with younger people. And so then there would be, by the nature of them, something that it's not just correlation, it's actual causation. Would you then say
Dog, what
we
the
should
fuck
reject
is this
white
question?
people from being
So
around?
What the
under
fuck is this?
under this particular hypothetical, the first thing I would question under the premise for clarity, which I think is absolutely. This is.
everything.
I'm sorry, you don't understand.
Everything. This is the
No.
easiest yes
Well, wait,
ever.
Hans, he didn't give me everything, and I'm going to demonstrate that he didn't. All I would ask is in the premise is that you define white people. That's it.
Okay, we'll say people caucasoids.
People who identify as white.
No, that's not going to work, Pisco, because
Wait.
that's a social
Wait.
That's not, you're fucking up,
Hispanics or
right?
Caucasians.
No, that's not fucking up. That's
Hispanics or
It's not
Caucasians.
Pisco, we're
That's
done.
typically-
We're done.
Wait, no, wait, hang on a second. That's
Literally
typically how
retarded, Pisco.
hang
Literally
on.
retarded.
You understand that's typically
leave
how
him
these
go.
censuses and everything are done, right? It's
But that's
self
but then
ID to
you,
race.
Can I
listen,
identify
but
black?
let me. The reason that
Pisco,
doesn't
can I
work for the
identify as
hypothetical
black?
is because we're talking about like reality, like genetic factors.
Wait.
And so
but
saying
Rob,
identifying as white.
Rob, I'm precisely trying to attack why it matters. That's the whole point. Who gives a fuck whether it's innate or sociological? Protect the kids. You don't care about kids. Protect them.
In any premise that you lay down, is it okay for me to ask you, in a certain word that you say, to be specific about what that word is and give me a definition for it? So give me a definition for white. So give me a definition for white, Pisco.
People who put on their sentence form and check off the box that says white.
That's regressive.
Wait, hang on a second. Hang on a second. I just gave you.
You're an
Did
idiot.
I give you
You're
a definition?
fucking
Yes or
retarded.
no?
You're retarded.
Wait. Hang on a second. Did I give you a definition? Yes or no?
You gave a regressive definition. It doesn't tell us anything.
Yeah, tell us. No, you gave us a label, not a definition.
Okay, you realize that for all these white-black statistics, that's what they're basing it
Yes,
on, right?
I do. I absolutely
Okay.
100%. Hang on, Zen. Hang on. I 100% concede that is exactly how the self-ID is done. The reason it's regressive, though, is because it's a label. It gives me no information. So give me the
That's
information.
True of the LGBT. Hang on. That's true of the LGBT.
No, it's not true. I'll give you the
That's-
information. I'll give you the information for LGBTQ. Same sex, same sexual activity equals LGBTQ.
So if someone has never had sex with a man, but they are attracted to men, they're not gay.
Attraction, no. The entire purpose of it is the action. This is the way that we see it. So when we go back to Pisco and we ask him, why? Hang on, Pisco, hang on.
Is like
Hans,
losers like you trying to
relax,
gotcha in
Hans.
the debate.
It's just for a second. Pisco, I'm asking you specifically not to give me an empty label, but rather give me a definition.
You don't get to fight me on the label.
You can't give me a definition.
No,
I don't understand what it means, Pisco.
Wait. In a conversation about hypotheticals, in a conversation about hypotheticals, I could say my definition in a conversation, as you know, because you guys are philosophers, as you know, my definition for white people could be tigers, and you'd have to accept it.
And we're fine with that. So give us the definition. So give us the definition.
Please cut in.
Let's let Zen go quick. Let's give Zen a chance.
I want to quickly clarify something to Hans, and then I want to go back to what I said at the very beginning of all this and why we're in this shitstorm right now.
Derailing again because they can't answer a question.
If somebody's attracted to men but never actually, kisses or has sex with one, he's not gay. Yes, that is correct. And just like if
someone never kisses a girl,
Hans, leave him finish.
Like girls, they're not straight.
No, hold on. Just like if somebody is supposedly attracted to women, but he has sex with a man, guess what? He's gay. Now,
correct.
The overarching point of all of this is what I said at the very beginning. This is precisely why Andrew and I don't look at things through a racialist lens, because the very category of race itself is always going to end up with regressive definitions where you say a white person is somebody who identifies as white. A woman is somebody who identifies as a woman. It doesn't tell us anything. It's fucking retarded.
So do you have something that's not a label? Give us a definition.
Wait. Hang on a second. I'm not.
No. Hang on. Nothing. Give me a definition, Pisco.
That is the sneakiest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Give me a definition, Pisco.
Let you do that.
Give me a definition, Pisco.
Hang on a second.
He has no definition.
If I give you a definition for white people for purposes of hypothetical, that is, keyboards.
Fine with that. Yeah, okay, and I'm fine with accepting that. So give me that.
If my definition for white people is everyone who pays their taxes, you have to accept that for purposes of the hypothetical. And if you don't, you're a coward little fucker.
Are you white?
How many times do we have to say we accept that? That's true. Hang on.
Okay. So
Pisco, are you white? Because the U.S. government says you are.
Pisco, hang on a second. Aircraft, this is super easy. Aircraft, wait a second. Pisco, listen to what I'm saying specifically. We wouldn't reject that if that's your definition. So if your definition is just anybody who labels as white, you would have to admit then that people who are not white, by whatever arbitrary categorization you say, a black person could identify as white, correct?
A black person could identify as white?
Yes.
No. Because a black person by
why not? Why couldn't they?
A black person by my definition is someone who didn't check that box and someone who checked the black box.
Well, what is white then? You said it's anybody
who white box.
Well, then why couldn't a black
so hard to understand?
Then why couldn't somebody from Africa check that box who's from Sub-Sahara?
They absolutely could.
Well, then I don't understand what your definition of white is then. What's your definition of white?
Andrew, I don't know how many times I can say this. The whole point of this hypothetical that's trying to draw out is the fact that who cares whether the child abuse comes from quote unquote innate, true, organic, real, whatever you want to call it.
People understand philosophy and people who want you to actually define your terms.
Hang on a second. If you care about children, right, you don't care if these are quote truly linked to the actual realness of whatever race is, as opposed to linked to the self-ID correlation.
If it's self-ID, if it's self-ID, Pisco, that's fair. I think that's
but
fine
you
to just
won't
say,
bite the
just
bullet.
hang on. Well, Pisco, I've bitten it a million times, just not listening to what I'm saying. If you're saying it's just based on self-ID, if I ask you the question about the premise and say, could anybody then check that box, and you say yes, your hypothetical is null and void because we can no longer pinpoint who you think these races are, you fool. Are you stupid, Pisco?
Now
You
you're
must be the
talking.
dumbest
No,
motherfucker
Pisco.
who's ever existed on planet Earth.
So sad.
Guys,
Let me help you again.
All right.
It's very clear. It's very clear. You're going a couple steps ahead of me and being like, well, how could you implement a regulation if it would be so easy for people to just
I asked
change
you for a
aspects?
definition.
No, but
You said anybody who checks the box. So if I ask you about who
you're putting the
and you
cart,
say everybody,
All right.
you said everybody.
you're putting the cart before the horse. You don't get to
Pisco,
decide.
it's your
that
definition, Pisco.
Listen,
It's your
all right, I'm
definition.
stepping in because I feel like we're spinning our wheels. So I want to ask Bisco a question
scared to
specifically.
answer.
Before I get
Spinning
to
our
that,
wheels
I
because
think
they're
what
afraid
the
of answering a
difference-
very simple question.
Listen, I think
I'm
that the
sorry you don't
difference is-
understand how to formulate arguments. This is your
I
problem.
don't understand the
Let
pharmacological
me-
understanding of how this works.
Please, let me. That's funny. Let me finish here. I think that what I could be wrong, and again, I'll try to steel man both sides. I think that the difference here is Pisco and Hans and Dylan are saying basically, well, I don't know if Dylan's saying it, but it seems that you're saying like, if the idea is that people in the LGBT community are bigger offenders, my definition is that's just people that identify as LGBT. So similarly, if people that identify as white are bigger offenders, then when we say we should treat them the same way. Whereas I believe what Zen and BPF are saying is, no, it has nothing to do with these vague self-identifiers. We are saying there are literally gay people, not because they say I'm gay, but because the actions they have taken are literally
'Cause they
gay.
have gay
And that
sex.
population is more.
So we have a definition. What's your definition is what we're asking.
Rob,
What's your
Rob,
fucking
you're
I'm
definition?
just curious. If you want to
That's
fuck your
their
children,
definition.
like your 5 kids, you want to have sex with them,
God.
but you don't. Are you a pedophile or not?
You're an
What-
idiot, Hans.
Wait,
What do you-
Rob,
That's
Rob,
not an
what's your
unreasonable question. I think that's a
Oh,
reasonable
God,
question because
God.
he's
Don't
saying
fuck any of your kids, but you want to, Big Papa. I
Wait,
know
wait,
you
wait,
want
wait,
to,
wait,
but you don't.
wait,
So are you a
please.
pedophile or not?
Please, I got this. Look,
No, don't let him run away. This is a really easy
no,
question.
I'm not
Using his
letting anyone
logic,
run
he
away.
demonstrated
I
to us
will
now, we
will
can
throw
say it
out a
now.
definition
Way.
that everyone will agree with. Yes, they're pedophiles. However, they may be non-offending. You can
That's not
actually
what they
have the
say.
thought.
They don't
You can
say
have
that,
the thought
That's
and
not
not
what he
perform
said.
the action
No,
and still
I'm asking
The
Zen because
logic-
Zen told
the
me
logic
and Big
doesn't
Papa
follow
just
there, and
told
they
me
know it. That's why
earlier
they're
in
quiet
this
right
debate
now.
that if you're a person who is attracted to men but doesn't kiss them, then you're not gay. So Big Papa wants to fuck his children, but he doesn't. Is he a pedophile or
Very
not?
simple.
Don't ever say that
comparison.
about a father, man. That's fucked up.
Loading
Man.
it. You're loading it by trying
Listen,
to make it
I'm not
personal.
taking personal offense. I think it's a reasonable question. Trying
No,
to
no, no,
delineate.
no, no,
It is,
no.
but to be
Please,
clear-
please, Rob. I understand you're
answer
trying
it.
to be the
Fuck
nice
you.
guy.
Fuck.
You're the moderator, but you don't ever, please, Hans, don't ever
Sparky,
accuse
shut the
a
fuck
father.
up.
You know, you
talk
shut the
about
fuck
Dylan
up.
being gay because of stuff that happened in his
I'm
life.
fine.
You have
all
no
right, all
right to
right.
stand on
I'm
here.
fine with the question.
Fuck you.
All right.
I'm fine with the question. I think
Then
it's
answer it.
I think
Let's
it,
leave
I
it-
Knight
think
in shining
Yeah.
armor.
I think it's a reasonable question. Hans, go ahead. Restate the question.
Just
All
don't
right.
make it personal with BPF. Just make it a father is attracted to his kids.
Oh
Yeah,
so
I
let's-
agree with that. I agree with that.
Okay,
Sure,
fine.
yeah.
I'm sorry for being so mean because they've been so nice to us. So Big
Hans,
Papa,
hang on.
a
Was this?
father-
Hang on.
I'm going now.
Was
Thank
that
you.
my
Can I
premise?
continue? Is this
You
okay?
can say whatever
I know.
you want. You can associate it to me
That's
if you want. I don't
That's
care.
amazing. So I'm wondering. Okay, so let's say a father is attracted to his children.
Mhm.
He doesn't have sex with them. Is he a
Mhm.
pedophile or not?
Define attraction.
He wants to have sex with them, but he doesn't.
Okay. How do you know that this person wants to have sex with him if he doesn't have sex with them?
As you
No,
asked.
you don't get to fight. Wait,
Yeah.
you're omniscient in this hypothetical. You don't get
Yeah,
to fight.
you know.
that. That's a given.
Why was I?
You-
Well, wait.
They're
wait.
such cowards.
Oh,
They're such cowards. They demand. They're such cowards.
I don't
They won't answer a fucking hypo.
Everybody stop.
Bro.
Mute
Do you
everyone.
hear that?
Everyone
That's-
stop. I'll mute
that's
everyone.
running away.
I just want to say this. Instead of stringing this out,
What
let's
a
just say
fucking
this.
dodge.
Because the guy told Hans. It's Hans's neighbor, and he told Hans, hey, in a moment of drunkenness, he's like, let me tell you the honest God truth. I really want to have interactions with my
think that
children.
that's
Well, that's self-ID. Rob, that's self-ID. You can't believe that.
It's
That's
self-ID, Rob. You
Please,
can't be sure.
leave him answer. Leave
So
answer.
again, I think it's completely fair to ask those questions within your hypothetical, just so that we can make sure we're clear on the hypothetical. Why is that absurd to either of you? Pisco,
We
can you
have
tell me why that's...
omniscient knowledge that
It
a
is
father
absurd.
wants
No,
to
I
have
can-
sex
omniscient.
with his
You just
children,
asked me a
but
question,
he
I'll
doesn't.
answer.
Answer
Bro,
the fucking
wait,
question, please.
Hans, relax for a second. I'm going to answer the question. I
You just
promise.
asked me a question. You just asked me a question.
Okay,
right? Which
but
is, why
you
is it
guys say
ridiculous,
I'm
right?
omniscient, but you're making the hypothetical, right?
But no, so you just asked me a question: is why is it ridiculous for me to contest how one would come about knowing that someone's attracted to children, right?
Yeah.
You just have to accept that.
The attraction to children, let's say, if you were to know, let's say in Hans's hypothetical, that a person came over and said, I want to sleep with my children, but I don't. Are they definitionally a pedophile? I don't think so.
Wait.
distinguish...
No, you're God, and you can see into the heart. In this hypothetical, you are omniscient.
I just answered to this.
That's what he's answering. He just
I just answered to this, you idiot.
So he wouldn't
Listen
be a pedophile.
closely.
Wouldn't be a
Listen
pedophile?
closely to what I say. The action is what is determinate. How do we know, for instance, within the confines of this hypothetical, this person isn't lying? He may be lying, considering the fact. Hang on,
We established this at the beginning.
Without him actually conducting the action, we don't actually know this when we map it onto reality that he is without the action, which is why the action is what matters.
If I don't engage in hypothetical, then it doesn't
he-
exist. You know?
Andrew, thank you so much. You did answer the hypothetical. You are a fucking idiot. No one talks that way. Pedophilia is not defined as someone who does pedophilic actions. You sick fuck. It's defined as people who have attraction to children, and that's how everyone uses the word. You can't have your own proprietary definition for words and pretend that reality doesn't exist and we don't live in a society.
First,
So you're a dumb fuck.
Pisco.
Thank you for answering the
Let's
question.
back up real quick.
Yeah.
You can have your own proprietary definition for words, can't you?
No, but like you can't pretend. that we have to
back
abide
up,
by them.
Pisco. You can have your own proprietary
Did you mean
definition.
definition? We have different
Okay.
definitions
Shut up,
now.
Hans.
I did not mean
Everything is a
Hans.
breakdown. Every word you say
I'm
is
asking-
different
I'm
to my
asking
ears.
Pisco
How can you
specifically-
explain
One at a time.
I'm
One at
asking-
a time.
I have to do
Pisco.
step by step.
I'm asking Pisco a specific question.
I have
Let's
to-
just ask him.
I have to do
Can
this step
you
by step
have?
with you.
Hang
When
on,
I
hang
said
on.
you
If
can't
you
have,
if you
when I said
if
you
you
can't have,
say
I didn't mean literally.
Right,
Because
then
obviously there
shut
are
up.
people.
Right, then you're
but
wrong.
Obviously, when
All
I
right.
said that,
then you're wrong.
when I said that, and Rob knows this, and Rob is like cringing right now. I see him physically cringing at your cringe right now. When I said that, I didn't mean that you literally cannot make up a definition for any word you want. Obviously, there's secret codes and shit like that. I meant you're an idiot if you use some kind of proprietary definition that no one in society recognizes, like pedophilia only means those. It's a subset. It only means those who are attracted.
No, then
who actually
Pisco,
do the act.
if
That's
this
stupid.
is true, let me ask you a question. Within the confines, an answer to this, and you can question any of these premises. Premises 1, people can lie.
Yeah.
You
Premises
solved
2.
that premise already. and I
Hang
thankful.
on,
Thank
hang
you.
on. Premises 2. A person could lie about saying that they're a pedophile.
That's correct.
Premise 3, there's no way for us to determine if a person's lying about them being a pedophile.
And we solved all those in the hypothetical.
Wait,
You're
wait,
just
wait,
a
wait.
Shut up.
fucking loser.
It's my turn.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I will
Premise
answer that question
3,
100%.
hang on, Pisco. Premise 3, right? It's impossible for us to determine if somebody is lying about being a pedophile if they don't
With
do the
100%
action.
accuracy.
If they
That's
don't
right,
do,
right?
if they don't do the action of pedophilia, is it possible for us to determine that they're actually pedophiles, not lying? Is it even possible?
Yes, it is possible.
How?
Circumstantial evidence.
How? Give me any.
mental state-
Give me any.
Wait.
configuration.
Let me show you. All of human emotion, all of human intent, all of human mind states, all of that is proved, not just in court. I'm not doing the law thing here. We're circumstantial evidence. How do you know someone is happy down?
So then you don't know.
Hang on a second. Let me finish.
I'll let you finish, Pisco.
You guys
Go
are
ahead.
scared. You don't want me to answer the question.
I'm happy to
Every-
engage with this with you,
every
Pisco.
mental
Why are you
state,
interrupting him?
Every emotional state, all of these things, obviously, you can't know their soul, you can't read their mind. We divine states of emotion, mental states, by circumstantial evidence. One very strong indicator that someone has attraction to children is pedophile actions, no doubt. But
Premise 1 and premise 2,
to
which
be
you
clear,
agree
to be
is it
clear.
could be lying, right?
To be clear, there are more pedophiles than those who commit acts of pedophilia. You must agree with that, right?
No.
No, I mean then that is just not the way people talk, and you're using a proprietary definition.
Again,
Oh,
can you
so,
answer?
So Andrew's by the pool. He sees a child. His dick gets
We'll
hard.
get
He's
to
not a
you.
pedophile,
We'll
guys.
get
He's not
to
a
you. We'll
pedophile.
get
I
to you.
promise.
Well, okay,
Andrew,
Hans,
that
to
guy's not a
answer
pedophile.
to answer specifically to you, if a guy were to sit by a pool full of children and get a hard on, would he go to jail?
No, he's still.
He actually might.
Hang on.
Wait.
Well, hold on, that was
Wait,
actually
first of all,
my
that's
Hang on.
irrelevant.
I think that
Hang
might
on,
actually
back
end
up,
with him in
back up,
prison.
back up.
Actually, yeah.
First of all,
First of all,
this is
first of all, that's irrelevant.
This is super important.
All right.
This is very. Well, this is very important that we get into
Let
this.
me get in here. Let me get in
I'm
here.
almost
Leave
done.
it.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
If those all the regulations
Pisco,
about bonus by
you
full
did
side.
agree with premise 1 and premise 2. You said you don't know for sure if they're lying. The only
That's
way
true.
you could
That's
know.
true.
Hang on. Pisco. Last question. The only way you can know for sure if they're lying is if they actually engage in the act, right?
No.
Then tell me how you could for
Wait,
sure,
wait.
for
The
sure,
the
know
nature-
that they're lying without engaging in the act. Give me
of-
one.
Hang on. The nature of mental states is that we actually can never know, right? So
So then you don't know.
Hang on.
So then
Hang
just
on,
say I
wait,
don't
wait,
know.
wait,
You
let me
fucking
wait, Rob. Let me
hypothetical
talk.
just
Can I
failed.
get to?
You
Can I get to?
I can't believe you just said that.
Because they know where he's going and they're trying to stop him.
We're gonna
Rob,
do this.
you
We're gonna
stop
go.
you boys.
We're gonna go 30 seconds, Pisco, 30 seconds, Zen, then Hans, then
Hey, let me
Sparky,
go
then
first.
Dylan.
Let me go first, 'cause
What is the
Pisco wants
definition
first.
of
I don't
happy?
understand
The
anyway.
the
Hold on, let
definition
me
of
go first.
happy.
Pisco,
Leave
let's
Pisco
go.
first. I've already decided
following Rob's
Pisco's
direction.
first.
All right.
The definition of happy is not eating a fudge sundae. The definition of happy is not skipping la la da da da. The definition of happy is not having a smile on your face. Those are all evidence that point to a mental state of happiness.
Yeah, but
the
happiness
truth
is arbitrary
the
in and
truth
of itself
is
within
the truth is
definitional.
happiness, same-sex attraction, anger, suspicion. All of these things are mental states of the individual. That's the definition of these words, and we find them out through circumstantial evidence. It's not
I
complicated.
have one more
You
question,
wasted
Rob.
all
This
your
is
time.
super important.
We gotta. I have to go to Zen.
I'll just
I have
got one more.
No,
It's
no,
really
no, no,
quick,
no,
and I
no,
swear,
no, no,
Five
Zen,
seconds. You got 5
They
seconds.
need
You
more
got 5
time.
seconds,
I want to run
Andrew.
away from this.
I just have
5
one more
seconds.
question. One more.
Just
One
hang
more.
on.
One more.
Andrew,
Pisco. All
Andrew,
right.
please,
All right,
let
fine.
me
Zen, 30 seconds. Go.
It's always one more question with Andrew, but no. I think it's been established in Andrew's line of questioning that the hypothetical actually fails if there's always going to be a barrier to whether you actually know or not, absent of the action occurring. But it was also pertinent to ask, which Andrew did to Hans, and I would ask this to you, Pisco, if I grant you all your premises and if I grant you the whole hypothetical that we can know somebody is attracted to their children or somebody is attracted to same sex, are they a pedophile and should they go to jail for that action? Like, because surely you would say pedophiles go to jail. But they haven't actually committed the offense.
No, you're virtue signaling right now.
No, I
a
don't
non-offending
want that.
pedophile shouldn't go to prison.
All
They
right,
should
Pisco,
go to
30
therapy.
seconds. Pisco to answer.
No, I do not say that. I think that one of the bedrocks of our criminal justice system is the need for there to be an actus reus, a guilty act before someone goes
Thanks,
to jail.
Ira.
Now, key exceptions-
Us too.
It's an action. It's an action. It's not a mental
Oh, I don't get my
state.
30
It's an
seconds?
action.
Oh, I thought I got my 30
Keep
seconds. You
going,
guys are
Pisco.
scared.
Keep
It's
going.
an action.
So
Keep going.
just because the criminal justice systems, for reasons of due process, for reasons of evidence, for reasons of basic justice that are the bedrock of this society, requires a guilty act, doesn't mean our definitions of those words are not
But
mental
Pisco,
states.
Pisco,
The
the only way
simple-
you could know that they're pedophiles is if they offend,
wait,
right?
One second. I
Excuse
know their meaning, but this is
Oh,
actually really important. We can help. Pisco, if I kill somebody, does my mental state and my intent potentially affect what degree of murder it is?
We wouldn't disagree with that,
Of course,
Hans.
of course.
We have no disagreement with
You're
that,
saying
Hans.
circumstantial evidence changes the nature of the murder. Very
It
curious.
has nothing to do with what we're saying, Hans. Tell us how it does.
No, it actually
Tell
does
us
have
how
a
it
lot-
has anything to do with
I
what
will-
we're saying,
I will
Hans.
show you. No, absolutely. It has a lot to do with your hypothetical, which is the following. If you can find a person who has sexual contact with a child who is not a pedophile, it disproves your definition. And it's very simple. It's very simple to give that example, which is suppose that someone were to, put a gun to 20 children, right? Put a gun to 20 children and coerce someone into doing this horrible act as against this victim in front of them. That would be a situation where they say, if you don't do this, and they're serious about this, if you don't do this, we'll kill all these 20 children. I assume that you guys will all grant that this person who is horrified to do this act is not a pedophile. But I'm sure you'll
Let me
say
ask you.
he
Let
is.
me ask you a contrary question. This is
See how
important.
they
Oh, you
refuse
won't
to
answer
answer
mine.
anything.
You won't answer
Hang on,
mine.
Hans,
He's
Hans.
answer most of their questions. They're just like, no,
Well,
please.
no,
I
this
like
is-
asking ask another question to respond.
Hang on,
Keep
hang
the
on.
train
Showing
going.
by these
Let's go.
shows.
Hans,
They're
Hans.
so scared.
Hans.
They really
Hans.
just want to hate gay people. They literally like,
Hans.
we don't give a fuck about kids. We don't care about
Sean,
any of these
you're
questions.
retarded,
We're gonna
Hans.
keep
Hans, you're
obfuscating till
What's
the
the
end of
soccer-
fucking time.
What's the Socratean? Hang on, Hans. What's the Socratean method?
Oh no, are you gonna tell me?
Socratic
Yeah, then
method.
shut up. Okay, so again,
Hans,
I gotta
Hans,
ask you. I gotta ask you.
Oh,
Was this
thank
just
you
Socrates?
so much.
Please,
You're
one at
giving
a
me
time.
more
I have
definitions?
one
at a
question.
time.
I just have one question.
What if
One
I
question.
disagree on the definition of the
Hans.
Socratic
What's the
method?
Hans.
Socratean?
Hans,
What's the
I have
Word
one
means
question.
a different thing to
Hans,
me.
I have
Clearly,
a-
your premise is flawed.
Socratean.
One
I'm
question
I'm
for
gonna mute you both.
I just have one question for Hans.
Fuck is
My
Socratean?
question for you, Hans, is that if you think about murdering somebody, are you a murderer?
No.
Why
Oh
not?
my god! But you understand?
Now
that the
shut up,
definition-
Pisco. Let
the
Hans
definition
answer.
of murder
Pisco, shut up.
requires
Shut
an
up,
Does
Pisco.
it change if I kill somebody? If I'm just driving and someone goes in front of my car, am I a murderer or did I commit manslaughter?
So
You might not even have
So wait,
committed
the
any crime.
delineation,
Thank you.
the delineation is the
It's almost
action.
like the action and your mind state are extremely important. In the same way
Thank
that Pisco
you.
said
Thank you,
earlier that
Hans.
you ran away
Thank you,
from.
Hans.
Oh
Thank
my
you,
god.
Hans.
Wait, but
Exactly with action, so they both came, just like Andrew when he sees a child, you know?
Andrew-
But he's not a pedophile, he doesn't touch
Jesus
them.
Christ.
It's actually
Right,
wholly irrelevant.
Time out. Everyone, time out. Right? Here's the deal. This is getting very messy, and I don't know how enjoyable it
Only
is for
messy
me
because
or
they're
for the
running
audience.
away.
So please be quiet.
They
So
love
I'm
it,
gonna
Rob.
do something that I shouldn't. Is my first time as a moderator, and I'm gonna talk about what my frustration here is. And I think this is it. I don't disagree with the people on the left saying, like, it seems that you're saying, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Pisco, like, dude, if this guy's basically saying, I like children, do you want that guy in front of your children? Do you want that guy teaching at school?
He hasn't
What would your
committed an
answer
act
be
yet.
that to Zen?
No.
What would your answer be that?
Oh.
You would say, I don't consider him a pedophile, but I'd still not want him near my children. Is that what you would say? Okay. Here's the frustration I have on the other side.
Same
Now
thing
that
with a
we've figured it out.
murderer. If he said he wanted to murder my children, I would say the exact same thing, but that doesn't
Okay.
make him a murderer.
This
Right. Okay. Now, my problem on the other
Murder
side
is
is I
an
understand the frustration.
orientation.
Please, I understand the frustration on the left. I do. I get it. This is so muddled. But the frustration I have with particularly your argument, Pisco, is this. You're literally saying when it comes to categories like white, I would presume you would say with categories like LGBT, that it's all self-definitional. You could say, if you say you're white, you're white. It doesn't matter if your pigment of your color is, if you're Negroid or if you're, Mongoloid or whatever, those particular races are. It doesn't matter if you say you're white, you're white. Even if you're or even if you're night black. Those are the actual.
those
The
are-
problem I have is when you're grilling them on like, well, your definition is X. You might be right. I might even agree with you. I don't agree with their definition. But when the counter is, you're like, well, definition is self-definitional. Whatever you say you are, you are.
No,
Like, wouldn't that be? Wouldn't that be the same with
He's
I
pedophilia?
understand
right.
that frustration.
Pisco,
I
he's
understand
right.
Rob, I understand that frustration. It's precisely why.
No,
I
you're wrong.
really
you don't know
use-
philosophy. You're an
Please,
idiot.
leave Pisco go. Please, leave him finish.
He's mad. He's mad. He's exactly right, which is why these categories like LGBT and these other things are not going to protect perfectly your children. Because in order first to be defined, I'm assuming for the purpose of, I haven't seen the propensity statistics, but I'm assuming for this hypothetical as given that you're correct that people of this community have a higher propensity for whatever. But if you're relying on categories that, one, either require physical evidence of gay actions, you think the fucking local police department has a log of everyone who committed gay actions, then your whatever bill or legislation that you're proposing is going to be toothless because they don't have the information to do it.
We propose
Or
no
it's-
legislation.
Or it's relying on self-ID. I'm sorry. Or whatever regulation, non-regulation,
No gay marriage, that's all.
Cultural thing.
Straight people can be pedos too. I don't know if you know this.
Any
Zen.
kind
Nobody
of-
disputes
excuse me.
that.
I just want to get this out. If
my
you're
God.
relying on the physical act requirement for these definitions, then any kind of restriction, either cultural, socially, anything, is going to be bupkis because no one's going to have records on
It's not
everyone's
true.
sexual exploits.
You're just making shit up.
What's more is if you're relying on instead self-ID, then you run into the same problem that you're identifying, Rob, which is precisely why I think these categories shouldn't be used to isolate certain of these categories. Does that make any sense at all?
No, you're retarded.
Okay, yeah. Well, what about it?
No, I
as a
mean
no?
he's literally
Here's
right.
the deal.
He's literally right. What you're saying is fucking stupid on its face, Pisco. First and
Good
foremost, well, I'm going to give you. I'm going to give it. Here's my argument.
I don't know how we can respond to that. You're dumb.
Trying to give you the argument, Pisco. One more time. What's the delineation between a murderer and somebody who does not murder?
Someone who kills with malice is a murderer.
Hang
on a second.
Intention modifies the action. You asked. A question was asked. Leave him respond.
A killing without malice aforethought is not a murder. And so the act alone of killing an individual is not murder. You require to have malice aforethought, which requires either an intention to commit, an intention to commit an otherwise unprotected killing, which is like not self-defense, or some kind of reckless depravity, which is tantamount to that intention.
Okay.
But it requires a mental state.
Andrew,
You're
muted.
If in your head, Pisco, if in your head, you have walked this through a million times how you would murder somebody, but you never go through with the action, you're not a murderer, correct?
Of course not. No.
Why not?
Well, murder requires an action.
And that's exactly what we're saying.
Okay, can I?
When it comes to gay action, that's exactly what we're saying.
I want to hear from Dylan. I haven't heard from Dylan or Aircraft much, so I'd like to hear from Dylan then Aircraft.
Okay,
I want to hear from Dylan too, but I have a specific question for Dylan. It's from Kevin B / not an expert for $5. He says, Dylan, what is normal or attractive about penetrating a man's dirty anus?
You don't have to answer, Dylan. Answer what
The
you're
worms.
I'm not a big fan of a dirty anus. But when it comes to pedophilia, the thing that gets me about this back and forth is, as far as I'm aware, pedophilia is like a psychiatric disorder. It's not an action. It's something.
We reject sociology.
No. It's not a psychiatric
reject
disorder.
sociologists completely. Like all of that study just completely gone. Like all of them are wrong. It's an action.
There is certain. Hang on. I'll qualify. There are certain data that can be collected that can tell us some things. But in general, with sociology, myself and Zen broadly reject sociology as being an absurd soft science. Yes.
Okay, so you take a different definition than the vast majority of medical experts, psychological experts.
I don't.
Your definition.
Most.
This is not. God, I can't. I'm quiet the whole time. But Andrew is such a hot bag of air that he still can't let me finish. So
sorry, go ahead.
The psychiatric disorder,
finish,
the vast majority of scientists, sociologists, everyone says it's a psychiatric disorder. Everybody would say that somebody with a boner looking at kids saying,
the majority of scientists do not believe sociology.
Please, Andrew.
Bag of air.
Dylan's not at a lot of
his own voice. That's why he's in his Discord after every single show talking to everybody. The thing is, the psychiatric disorder, everybody, scientists, sociologists, everybody considers it to be a psychiatric disorder. If you look it up, the first thing that comes up on Google, I don't want to appeal to the norm here, but it's going to be psychiatric disorder. That's the first thing that comes up. Nobody in their right minds is saying that somebody with a boner looking at kids thinking to themselves, I want to fuck that child, is not a pedophile. That person should be treated as a pedophile. In fact, they have a word for this type of pedophile. It's a non-offending pedophile. It has its own classification. Dylan, it can't be a pedophile if it's an action, but it's considered a non-offending pedophile.
So let me ask you.
Wait, pause. Sparky, get a word in, and then we'll leave Andrew respond. Sparky.
Andrew, you know I love you, you know I respect you. Zen the same, but I gotta throw this out to you. Ladies and gentlemen, thought by itself is a sin. We all agree on this. Most of us conservatives do agree on this.
Amen.
So the thought for pedophilia. No, you will agree with this because
disagree with that, Sparky.
You don't disagree with this.
No,
so
you entertain a sinful thought. That's a sin. Yeah, we agree.
Oh, okay. So let's be honest. The people who actually think pedophilic thoughts are pedophiles. Would you agree?
If they're entertaining the thoughts, yes, for sure.
If they're entertaining the thoughts, they don't have to actually act on the thoughts, but they're entertaining thoughts.
It's a sin, but we can't actually punish them because they haven't.
Yes.
Individuals
so we can agree.
Pornography are not pedophiles.
Please,
I want to hear you say that. I want to hear
you guys.
Please go. I am really.
How many?
They're running away again. They're running away.
We're gonna listen. We're gonna hear from Sparky to finish this. Then we're gonna go to Andrew, who could respond to both Pisco and to Dylan.
Right,
then we'll go around the horn. We got 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna do closing statements. So we got 10 minutes. Please, Sparky, 30 seconds to finish here. Then we're gonna go to Andrew.
I have sat here and suffered through all this. Look, I agree. Homosexuality, on a moral stance is wrong. The thought of performing homosexual acts is a sin through Christian Judeo thought.
We
I think-
reject
Never heard of
Christian Judeo. We reject.
Yeah, never
that.
heard of her.
Okay, whatever. By the way, Jesus was a Christian, and Jews were the
Well, he
original
couldn't have
Christians.
been a Christian.
Andrew, I want you to answer this, and this is.
Hold on. Let me please
I
finish.
don't care about
10
your
seconds.
son right
For
now.
the
He's
love of
not
God.
here. Dylan was able to speak.
For the
Zen,
love
you're
of
watching
God,
child
please
porn.
stop.
Are you a
Quiet,
pedophile?
Hans, we'll get to you. Please, you
I
got
wanna-
10 seconds, Sparky. Finish up. Then we're going
I
over
can't
to
answer it.
we'll
They're
go over to
gonna run
Andrew
away again.
next, please. 10
Look,
seconds, Sparky. Go.
yeah,
They're gonna
look,
be
here's the thing. You can be a pedophile and not act on it. In the terms of sin. Legally, Pisco is correct. Without the action, it is not illegal.
I don't
And
care. I
that
only care
is
about
that
what's
is the
moral.
reality.
I only
All
care
right,
about what's
Andrew.
moral. Okay, so first and foremost, let me ask Dylan a question. Dylan made this claim that I'm in the Discord after every single show that I have. Dylan, how would you know that?
Can you answer the
Because I
pedophile
go in
question
there.
first?
I go in
First-
there. Exactly.
Who's
Please,
time? Wait. How would you know that, Dylan?
Because I went in the Discord.
And you went in. So you
Because
go
I-
into
be-
this.
I
Wait,
can
so
tell
you
you.
go in my
I've
Discord
gone-
after
I've
every
gone-
single.
No, wait, I don't go in Discord after
Hang on,
every.
can I
He's doing
finish my
right now.
question since
Okay,
it's
well-
my time?
Well, you asked me
Dylan,
a question. I was answering it.
Do you go into my Discord after every single show?
I do not go into your Discord.
So then you're
But
a
what I
fucking
do,
liar.
no,
right?
what I do is when I, hey, I'm sorry, Andrew. You know he's snarky. You know he's a snarky guy. He's like the penguin, like a
when you're
Batman
lying.
villain. But the thing is,
Yeah.
if I go to my Discord and I click the friends list, it'll show all the people in my friends list, what Discord channels they're in, and every time I go there, you're in your Discord talking to people. Every chance you get, I'm not even insulting you for it. I'm just saying you like the sound of your own voice, and you can't deny that.
So Dylan, let me ask you a question. Were you in my Discord last night?
Yes, I was.
Did anybody invite you?
No, I went in there. I was bored, and I saw you were in there. I was like, oh yeah, Andrew's in his Discord again, like always.
So you wanted to hop in and you wanted to engage with me, right?
Yeah, I did engage with you. Yep.
And what's the difference between you and eCeleb and just somebody who's in my Discord who might want to engage with me after hours?
Because I'm a liberal and on the coast, and therefore.
And has anybody thrown you out?
Anybody threw? No, nobody threw me out of your Discord.
Nobody threw you out, and we had a great conversation, right?
Well, I was very intoxicated, but yes, from what I remember, we strangle each other.
Right. So then my question becomes: if I love the sound of my own voice, you must love the sound of my voice too, since you're always in my fucking Discord, huh, Dylan?
If I'm always in your Discord, I was in your Discord two.
You
times.
said you were
Two
always.
times.
I'm always there, and you're always
See,
listening,
you're,
right?
The thing is, you're so old and such a boomer. You don't know how Discord works. You click the friends list, shows everybody in the Discord. Every time I click my friends list, you are in there talking to somebody.
Why are you checking
why are
on
you
me
even
so much,
denying it?
Dylan?
I'm not
Dylan.
checking on you. I'm checking on my friends
Dylan,
list on
why are you
Discord.
checking?
You're on my
Dylan,
friends
why are
list.
you
You
checking
wanted
on
to be
my
my
Discord
Discord
so much?
friend, and I allowed you. I
All
comforted you in that way.
all right. Listen, not
Love
really
the sound of my
major
voice,
topic.
Dylan. Love the sound of it.
Interesting for a moment. Let's go to Hans.
Wait. One second. I do want to wait. I
Real
do want
quick,
to say, I
Dylan.
want Andrew to answer the
no,
question.
hold on.
If somebody
I have
was to
an
look at
question.
child porn and jerk off to it, are they a pedophile? I want to hear an answer to that.
Yes, we would. Yes. Yes, we would consider that a sin against yourself, and we would consider that to be an action.
So getting
Fuck the
hard.
child.
Getting hard isn't an action, but jerking off is an action.
Well, getting hard in and of itself, maybe not. This could be a biological
Maybe
response.
not.
A
Andrew sees
biological
the guy
response
getting
to
hard at
children.
the pool, looking at the kids, and he's
Do you
like,
think that
man
you
is a
guys?
pedophile.
Do you think you guys fucking spurging helps you at all? One more
Sounds like
time,
yourself.
and one more time, Dylan. Can you get a boner without you meaning to get a boner because it's a biological response?
Yeah, but if you're
Then
getting a
shut the fuck up,
But that
Dylan.
was not what I asked. Wait. I asked if you got a boner while looking at children because you were looking
And
at
then
kids.
jerked off. What's the jerk off
no,
part?
no,
Is
you're
that an
dodging.
action?
Oh my God, stop
I have an
dodging,
important
Andrew.
question. I have an important question about whether you're gay or not, right? Let's say you and Zen are roller skating together, right?
We reject the premise.
And there's a very
Reject
big
the
hill,
premise.
and
We
you
would
start
never
going
roller
down the
skate.
hill, and Zen falls on his face, and you, in a misopportune moment,
retarded.
randomly have a
This is
boner,
retarded.
and you
You're
fall on
retarded.
top of Zen, penetrating
Genuine question.
his
This is an-
ass.
this is an important
Does that make
question.
you gay? Because like
Retarded.
the intention was there, but dick
All right,
and
all right,
dick and
all right,
ass.
all right, all right.
Andrew, tell me, are you gay or not?
Genuine question.
It's
please.
just an action. You had no intention.
retarded.
The,
You're
the,
retarded,
the boner
Hans.
was
You're retarded.
random. Are you gay or
Listen,
not?
Retarded.
listen, everybody quiet. Everybody quiet. So here's what's going to happen.
Wait,
you get a question in a second. I got to say this. You should have got a poll sent to you in the Discord chat. You could check that. You could put that poll in your own channels. We're going to leave that up for like 10 minutes. People can vote who they think won this shit show. And then we'll give the results. But go ahead, Zen. Keep it down to like 20, 30 seconds now because we're wrapping up here.
Are you gay or not if Andrew like
Here, okay, so I'm turning that off because they're not saying anything of value. He won't answer. He won't. I can't believe he thinks somebody getting a boner looking at kids. The thing is, I said if he got a boner in response to the kids, but he said, well, he could have been getting a boner about something else. That was my question, but he dodged it. He dodged it because he doesn't want to say out loud because he knows it would be silly if he said out loud, yes, if you get a boner in response to kids, you're not a pedophile, because everybody knows that pedophilia is a psychiatric disorder and there's such a thing as a non-offending pedophile. That's why everybody talks about MAPS all the time now. It's such a big controversial issue. This is such a silly go back and forth. God, man, the lengths he will stretch in order to justify his homophobia is astounding. Also, I'm posting the straw poll in site and Twitch chat. Sorry about my camera today, boys. I did my best. I'll try to get it fixed by next show. I really will. Anyway, let's just join back.
Do you not agree
Well,
with
not
that?
just schools, but just anybody, like the internet, like kind of promoting it, or the media.
You can
promoting it.
demonstrate, like, you can tell children like what gay sex is without showing them like gay porn.
And
like
I'm sure
it's
you
super
do,
easy.
Hans. I'm sure you do all the
You
time.
think it's okay to do
Children
that?
should
You think it's
never be
okay to show
exposed to
kids
gay
what
porn.
gay porn is?
You guys were trying to defend how having a boner looking at kids is pedophilia. You can't
Wait,
be
wait,
saying,
wait,
oh,
wait,
that's
wait,
weird.
wait,
Oh,
wait,
that's
period.
weird.
And
Get
they
outta here.
deliberately misunderstood.
Get outta here.
misunderstood me again. That's fine.
Just lying, Dylan.
Not
I mean,
lying,
you can't
I
help yourself because you're dirty progressive.
I repeated your words back to you. I'm sorry if they scare you.
Then repeat them
Sorry.
again.
Let me
Weird.
step in,
Again.
please. Let me step in, please. Like, I get, again, there's a passing of ships here. I think that what Pisco and Dylan are saying is, like, if you knew that someone was looking at kids and got an erection, you would say they're a pedophile. But I think that what Andrew's saying here, and I have to admit that I agree with this, there are many reasons you could get an erection, even not intentionally. So I wouldn't just
That's a
assume
dodge.
if I happen to be in a kid's...
Rob.
Oh, no.
Rob, no,
It's
no,
not,
it's
no,
perfect.
listen,
That's
let me be
perfect.
clear. Let me be clear. Like, I'm not saying, you're saying if we knew that he was like staring at that kid and that's why
the
he
whole
got,
fucking
why
show.
he got the erection.
No, Andrew just gave the whole game away. The fact that he said that there are other reasons means that he's considering the intent and the thought pattern of the person doing it, and that shows you that even in his own mind,
In fact, the
even
opposite.
in
In fact, the opposite
even in
is
his
true.
own mind, even when
Listen,
trying
guys,
to,
listen, real
even
quick,
trying
real
to,
quick.
Shout him down.
excuse
You
me,
had to shout him
even
down.
when trying to, even Dylan's question just brought this out. Even when trying to distinguish Dylan's hypothetical, immediately, without even thinking about it, his mind goes to, well, he didn't have to intend to like that. No shit, because
No,
that's
he
what we're
didn't
worried
intend to
about
have
is
to
the
get a
level
boner,
of
dude.
intent
Well, then
and
you're
the
fucked.
mind level.
Then your whole argument
Okay,
blown
okay,
out.
okay,
Gotta
okay.
shout
I
him
want
down
Zen.
every time.
No,
I want
listen,
Zen
Every
to
time.
answer.
So despicable.
Zen,
You guys'
please.
brains are so
Rob, I
Zen-
just want to be clear. Zen has
No,
still
no,
not
listen,
answered
no.
about whether
Shut the fuck up,
Andrew is
Hans.
gay
Shut
if he
up,
accidentally
Hans.
penetrates
Shut
Zen's
the fuck up,
ass.
Okay,
Hans.
leave Zen go.
He doesn't answer that either.
Hans, shut up. Nobody cares. The point I'm getting
Everyone
at,
cares.
you
It's
guys'
important
brains are
hypothetical.
so clogged by the fact you don't even realize that excessive porn use, excessive masturbation reduces your ability to get morning wood or your, I guess, involuntary
You see
response.
how we've run away? We've gone
What is
so
this
far.
dog? This is
One
this
at a
is
time.
sad. Come
One
on.
at a
are
time.
running
Zen,
so
finish.
far.
One at a time, then Hans,
You
your
don't even
turn.
consider the possibility that somebody could get a boner for some reason other than sexual attraction. You don't even consider that that's a
You're too
possibility.
stupid to realize what
You
I just
guys are
said.
fucking boomers.
You're too stupid to
You're
realize, and you're
fucking
doing it over
boomers.
again. Wait, Zen, you're too stupid. You don't even realize my point.
You
My whole point. My whole point was the fact that you're saying
That's the most coherent
and
both of
Rob
you sounded
agrees.
the whole
That's why
debate.
Rob is cringing. The fact that you're saying that there could be different reasons for why you had a boner shows that the reason is what's dispositive. The reason is what's driving your inquiry, not that physical
Yeah,
act. And your
All
own
right,
response
all
proves
right.
it.
All right. And maybe I am misreading this, and I'll give it. I actually don't think Hans's question's that bad, and it deserves an answer, and here's why, right?
Amen.
To me, it seems like that you're not just saying it's the action that makes you a pedophile, but it also has to be the intent with the action, right? So in other words, if you literally tripped for whatever reason, you're a hostage, they have you nude.
Yeah, we wouldn't say
they
you were
force
gay. We wouldn't say
Right.
you were gay. That's
No
absurd.
shit.
Real
Of
quick,
course.
please. Let me finish, please, real quick. So you're saying the action is what makes you gay.
Of
But
course.
the intent had to be there. If someone forced you to do it, or if you trip and fell, that wouldn't make you gay, even though the insertion happened. It
No,
was
of course
the
not. Well,
action with the intent.
But
Why
nobody,
did you run from the initial conversation that Pisco asked
never-
earlier about
we
the
never-
kids?
We've been arguing for 40
Hans,
minutes.
The
Hans,
hostage situation.
we have never
You ran
run
away from that too.
Hans, not only have we never run away from anything,
I've never run away. Said
but
man who's winning a
considering the amount of
marathon.
times that if we had a 1v1 debate that you would get blown out in 15 seconds like you always have traditionally with me, that's 100%. Now
If it
back,
was just you and me outside.
hey, Pisco, you must be this tall to make an argument. But back to where I was at, I have to ask you specifically, Pisco. You have once again 100 times during this entire discussion said the intent is what matters. And how do you delineate the intent from the action in the courtroom? Can you actually do that without the action? Pisco.
I've literally told you that the way you prove mental states in this country and with respect to human interactions, not even in a courtroom, is through manifestations in circumstantial evidence. But those manifestations...
So you're not 100% sure, right?
Excuse me. The manifestations...
No, excuse me. Are you 100% sure, Pisco?
You but you just admitted that you're not even 100% sure.
One more time. Are you 100% sure, Pisco? Without the action.
Rob, you're not letting me answer. You just admitted, right, that you're not even 100% sure if there's anal insertion, whether or not that they're a pedophile.
If it's at gunpoint. If it's at gunpoint,
then
are you serious, Pisco? Are you serious?
Wait.
No,
The
you
fact
still
that
intended to go in the guy's
Hang on.
ass. You intended to do that. That seems pretty gay to me.
The fact that there's a single hypothetical, even however ridiculous it is, a single hypothetical that shows that the act alone is not enough shows you that there's something else.
No, that's not true.
Has to be
Also,
there,
like
There's
Pisco,
a
and everyone, I
necessary
love
condition, right? A necessary condition is the intent. Otherwise, if all it took was the
Pisco,
act
what's
alone,
an entailment?
then
do you know what an entailment is?
guys, like I just like
Oh
before we
my
dodge,
God.
I want
Hans,
everyone
this
to
is
realize
Hans, it's my
that they
turn.
said
I have
intentions
no
don't
idea
matter
what
at all
intention-
until it came up about them potentially being gay. It's like
What?
intentions matter.
I
My
have no
dick's in
idea
his
what
ass,
I-
but
no.
the intention
Hey,
it doesn't
I have
matter.
no idea what entailment is.
What's a
I have no-
necessary? What's a necessary entailment, Pisco?
I have no idea what you mean by entailment. When I say necessary,
Well, then let me
condition
explain it
is-
to you. Let me explain
when
it
I
to
say
you.
necessary,
Let me
condition, I
explain
mean,
it to you,
without
Pisco, because
this,
you just
know
said
that.
you didn't know what it was. So let me explain it to
Okay.
you. When you're talking about logic, if you say A equals B, blah, 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 there's going to be necessary entailments to the things that you say. You would agree that that's true, right? Wouldn't
I
it
don't know.
necessary?
Wait. You haven't described what you mean by necessary entailment. You just said there have to be necessary.
Then why
entailments.
did you
haven't
just agree
described
with it?
Well, no. I nodded
Wait
and
for
I'm
your
like, I just
explanation. You haven't
realized.
defined it.
Hang on. You just said, I'll explain what a necessary entailment is you agree that when you have statements, there have to be necessary entailments. That's not an explanation of what a necessary entailment is.
Okay, so let me give you an example of this, for instance. A person.
I don't want an
can't-
example. I want you to explain what a necessary entailment is.
I'm
in
giving you
abstract terms. That would be
And
helpful.
I'm giving you examples so that I can do that. A person who can walk must be walking on a surface. The must be walking on a surface would be a necessary entailment.
You can't be 100% sure that they're walking.
Of
Your eyes
being
might be
able to
lying to you.
walk?
You might be hallucinating.
Okay,
Wait,
all
a
of those
necessary
and all of
entailment
those
of being-
things, all of those things could be true, but a necessary entailment of walking would include some type of surface you walk on, right?
Okay. So if you're walking, it's a necessary entailment that you are walking on a surface. I'll grant
Yes. Okay, great. So now that we know what a
Yeah,
necessary...
that is, folks. You can grant a premise and then it
Great.
can
So,
continue
so
without
now that we
swaying out
know
for
that
30 minutes.
Hans doesn't understand what a necessary entailment of a razor is, or he wouldn't have a stupid mustache, we can go back to Pisco here,
Banger
and we
mustache,
can
by the
ask,
way.
would a necessary entailment of a murderer be the murder?
That's circular. What are you talking about?
Well,
You just
A
said
murderer is a
necessary-
murderer, Pisco. Don't you understand?
Regardless of if it's circular, it doesn't matter. It would be a necessary
You mean the
entailment.
killing, right? I think what you meant to say is, wouldn't a necessary entailment of murder be a physical act that kills, or some kind of action that kills?
Unjustifiably.
You're adding more
Well,
things.
That
Hang
would
on.
be a necessary entailment.
So murder is to cause the death of another with malice aforethought. A necessary condition is the causing of a death.
Gotcha.
All right.
So
All right.
So
Finish it up.
Hang on. So an unjustified killing, would that be a murder?
No. A
So-
murder is A murder would be a killing with malice aforethought. An unjustified killing could also be a manslaughter killing. That's a felony.
I think that that's a fair distinction. So let me try to pin it in now that we know what a necessary entailment is. Don't you think a necessary entailment of asking if a person is a homosexual, if they're under duress for the homosexual act itself, a necessary entailment of that would be that they weren't necessarily a homosexual. There's an entailment there.
Okay, but see what you just did there. But you're defining homosexuality implicitly.
My definition is what I'm asking
desiring.
about. Under my definition is what I'm asking about.
Under your definition, if someone has a gay, your definition of homosexual is someone who has homosexual acts, correct?
And so the entailment there is that there's an intent for that. That's my point.
An intention to have.
What if I told you that?
No, shut up, Hans. We're right there, Hans. One more time,
Perfect.
Pisco.
Yeah.
That would be a necessary entailment, right?
Yeah, to intend the
And we're done.
act.
Then we're done,
No,
Pisco.
hang on.
That's it,
Hang on a
Pisco.
second.
I'm done.
Wait, one second. To intend the physical act. Someone under arrest is intending the physical act. It is a volitional act that they are taking.
But the only way we can determine 100% that they meant to go through with the act
You chose
is by
to be
them
gay instead of get killed. It's easy.
It's by doing the act,
You
right?
chose. You like being alive more than you like being straight.
Now their will is being overcome.
That ass
by
looked
the
better
duress,
than the
right?
pearly gates, didn't it? When Zen
Their-
fell
their-
down.
we would call their
Find a
volitional
razor.
will or their free choice, if you believe in that, is being
Whatever it is.
overcome by the things that are causing the duress.
Hans.
But there,
All
there's a
right.
Testosterone.
We're gonna have to leave it there. There's never a good place to end. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna
That's
do minute
true.
closing, and we'll give the results of the polling. So we're going to close in the same order that we started. Everybody gets a minute. That means we're gonna start with Dylan.
Yeah, I really didn't, I don't always prepare every day for a pedophilia debate. This one kind of caught me on the jaw a bit here. But I really do want to emphasize that one thing that we didn't get to touch on in this topic, because we kind of got away from it before I could bring it up, is that when we talk about all this data around homosexuals and the higher propensity and all this, not only all the things I already repeated on today's show, but I also want to say that all the studies that have been produced to show this outcome also have yet to been able to been done with a probability sample. And so if you, I think, would more encapsulate this fact and show it to be true without any extrinsic factors, like outside factors causing it, sociological, or because these self-IDing pedophiles happening for these studies, you're going to have to produce one of these things that also have a probability factor as well. So this entirety of this conversation is also based on top of data that is also pretty faulty in and of itself, and we didn't get to talk about that today, so I said it first, so if people wanted to address that moving forward, they can.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dylan. BPF was supposed to be next. He's not here, so we'll go to Sparky.
All righty. For the conservatives, thought enough is a sin. The thought is enough. Stop fantasizing about penetrating other guys' asses, Hans. Shit's fucking cringe. I loathe to admit this, but Pisco is technically the most correct. I am definitely the most correct. Fuck all you. I cringe as I say this, base Pisco. The thought alone is a sin, therefore guilty. The action alone is what the law cares about. Cope and fucking seethe. Intent does not matter in most legal matters, but on a moral standard, it does. BPF and Zen, we want to represent our morals in both biblically and truthfully manner. I am not sorry, but we disagree. Dylan and Pisco and Hans, you're all gay, but I love you in Christ, in a Christ-like manner. I cannot lie to my audience or yours. Therefore, truth in both stances, but on a moral stance, sorry, I'm going to go a little bit over. Thought is as bad as action. Cope and seethe. If ye lust your neighbor's wife, you have essentially committed adultery legally in the United States. You did not commit an action, therefore you have not.
Wrap it up.
Let's be honest. I will. Our morality comes from different perspectives, but the rights perspective is the most base, strict, therefore better. Our laws are intended to protect the criminal, but it is not morally prescriptive.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next, we're going to go to Hans.
I just want to say, because we can't be 100% sure of anything, because Andrew and Zen can't be 100% sure that every person that does sexual content around kids is doing it without the threat of force, that their family might be murdered or someone might Holocaust their entire, race or religion or what have you, then we can't be sure that they're actually pedophiles, even though they're doing pedophilic actions. Otherwise, we could also assume that just because Andrew penetrates Zen's ass, that they're 100% gay. I just want to be clear about that. Thank you. I know they ran away a lot. It's really frustrating for me as for you. We're all memeing and creaming, having a good time. I had a great time, and thank you so much for having me. This is what kind of conversation is this? It was super easy, and they couldn't answer a single fucking question without mauling about, thanks, guys. This was great.
All right. Next up, we have Andrew.
So this was simplistic in every note. These people don't understand basic philosophical concepts. They don't understand how to even construct arguments or what a premise is. They don't understand anything because they're fucking idiots. On top of this, when I asked him for what a basic entailment is, he wants an explanation, which I gave him, which he agrees to, and still argues with the entailment. When we're talking about under duress or things like this, we're talking about a different mental state, which would speak to Aircraft Sparky, for instance, when he says there's a different mental state that goes in line with you being under duress. We're talking about an action. Of course, we're talking about intent with the action. We're just saying that we want to have something that's grounded in consistency. We want to make sure that if you're going to do this action, that we know that that was the intent that was behind it, not some kind of bizarre emotional appeal, which these people have done over and over and over. None of these people could stand to me. They would get smacked in 15 seconds on this topic. There's no fucking possible way any of these people could ever hold a fucking candle to me in a debate. I would invite any of you on any of these topics to come and debate with me, and it would be over in minutes. You're fucking idiots. That's it.
Okay, that's time. Next, we have Pisco.
Buzzwords and cope and seethe from Andrew. What this debate brought out was, in fact, that the nature of the categories that people want to put restrictions on can be difficult to identify sometimes if they involve self-ID or the physical manifestations of those self-IDs, in which case the restriction, either cultural, social, whatever, would be toothless. And there are reasons why we wouldn't do it at broad categories like race or even sexual ID, even notwithstanding any kind of propensity statistics, which is, you could point to men and the propensity of men towards sexual violence and violence towards children, but we would never endorse a rule that seeks to restrict that entire class of people from children. I'm fine with having rules that restrict pedophiles or sex offenders from children. I think it's a huge problem, the sexualization of children. I actually really do. But I think a lot of these and areas that were more interesting to go into cross into concerns related to overbreathness with respect to who you're targeting with any given restriction or with our First Amendment rights, which a lot of the restrictions, if they're governmental, seek to transgress, in my opinion.
All right. Last but not least, we have Zen.
Certainly not least. Okay, all I have to say about the debate is that the left side of the aisle, they're all retarded.